Welcome, everyone, to the Tavern Keeper, a web series about brewery taprooms, their design, their decor, and the community that we build within them. My name is Chris Barron. Joining me today is a very good friend of mine and a very, very close industry contact. We've worked together extensively on many projects. Flint Whistler. He is the head brewer at Randolph Beer in Williamsburg, but he wears many hats. This is a very common thread. Any beer folk that you meet deep in the industry, like Flint's, usually either willingly or gets roped into doing many, many, many things with regards to the industry. But super, super glad to have you on today, and I will try my best not to take a lot of your time, but this is going to be really challenging because I am number one, forever indebted to you for helping me find my way into the industry. No, it's true. And number two, super interested in your philosophy on community. Just a quick anecdote I wanted to share. Flint and I worked at Rockaway Brewing Company for quite a while together, a couple of years. There were times, I think you've said as much, where aside from my wife, and sometimes notwithstanding, you were the person I spent the most time with and saw the most. Sometimes that flipped, honestly. And when you finished up, this was I think April of 2017. You had a little final shift party, a little going away, if you will, and it was a madhouse. It was so packed because you touched a lot of lives there, and you really, really properly built safe space for people to hang out and vent and speak and meet and everything, and I thought that was really wonderful. I've jabbered on too much. Thank you so much for coming on. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. How about you?
I'm well. Yeah, quite enjoying this lovely weather. We had a good long walk with the kiddos today.
Yeah. I went down to Dumbo Park today, and it was glorious.
Nice. Yeah, it's cool. People are they're out in there, at least in my neck of the woods, are spreading out really nicely. So it's good to see people are feeling like it's okay to go out and breathe a little bit without getting up in each other's space.
Exactly.
So as I mentioned, we started together at Rockaway, and you were there a bit before me as the taproom manager and a number of other things. You did some brewing there. You were the social media coordinator. You were the events coordinator. You did a little bit of all the things again, as we do. Tell me a little bit about, and we first met when I came to the taproom when taprooms were just starting to be a thing. They were just starting to open up. You could sell beer for consumption on premises at the end of 2014, I believe it was. And so taprooms were finally like, come here and drink a beer with us, and we'll sell it to you, and it's going to be okay. It's going to be on the level. So I came and I was enamored. I met a few of my current regulars there that night, which was really cool. But you had a good hand in building not only that taproom physically, but that taproom communally. And again, it was very reflective of the work that you had done and your sort of farewell there. Can you tell me a little bit about your process there and how you built that community, and also how you had a hand in building that taproom physically? Go for it.
Well, so it was kind of an interesting situation. When I first started working with Rockaway, it was the two owners, Ethan and Marcus, when they had time off from their jobs, and me. So basically, if you were buying a beer, you were 90% likely going to see me sitting in this little weird cubbyhole during the to-go days, and the brewery was just through an open door past you. We had to sell tours, which would come with the flight, and you could take the tour as many times as you want. It was self-guided, and that funky kind of bootstrap way of launching a brewery that was full of passion, not a lot of money, really kind of touched a chord with a lot of people in Long Island City. And so we were able to build, also Rockaway was the first beer brewery to open up after Prohibition. So there weren't many options out there. And so people would come on up and they kind of invested themselves in this new brewery coming through. So when we were finally able to expand and build the bar, there was already a base, which was wonderful. And it was a base of people who had been buying beer at Rockaway for a couple of years, going out and about, asking why they can't sit and have a pint with us. And so finally we're able to like, yeah, okay, you can have a beer with us. It's going to be awesome. Um,
Yeah.
and so that was super helpful in having people kind of be, to some degree, feel like they're part of the process, and part of the growing. Because there's still people that I'll see out when I go and visit Rockaway, or in the day-to-day life when I cross paths, which will harken back to their fond memories of meeting me sitting behind a plywood table filling growlers off a jockey box. So that's a good bit of the base. And then so with the bar, flights had become so much a part of the business that the taps at Rockaway are made so you can hit 4 flights in a row, and it's spaced out based on the flight boards themselves. So we
You
could
just hold the
maximally
flight
just kind
board
of
up, yeah.
knock, 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 knock. I know you're a good pro at that too.
It's
So
visually impressive too. People, it's another piece. People are like, "Whoa! What magic did you just conjure up, pouring all these beers?"
it's a good way
Really,
to
really
dial it.
cool.
And so the the bar there, it's a weird space because it's an old meatpacking plant, and so and that was specifically where they would joint the pigs, is where the tap room is. And so there was a lot of ways in which Ethan, Marcus, myself wanted to make sure that there was an homage to that area. So the stainless steel bar aesthetically was going to kind of fit, keeping it very simple, and then walking the line between trying to have something that's going to be very functional for the workers. So pretty much everything is sprayable with a hose. That's a nice wide bar. You can walk back and forth. You can get a lot of stuff done. There's multiple points where you can plug in your POS, all that jazz. But there's a lot of ways in which you can access the bartenders and the people who are there. And one of the things that was really important was having that front little curve that's right by the front door. So when you walk in, the first thing you see is a person who cares about you and cares that you came in and want to try a beer. So that was one of the key
Yeah.
things for kind of getting the space up and running.
I was admittedly a regular, a semi-regular before I begrudgingly handed you a resume because I thought to myself, "Oh man, I'm not going to be able to drink here anymore," which is foolish. And that's something that struck me. I can still very vividly remember. I mean, I remember every time that I was there, but I vividly remember one night where I was the last customer there. I hopefully didn't stay too late, but there's a willingness to talk. And again, it's, that's not something that we hope carries through the night on the regular necessarily, but there was a very strong openness from you and from a lot of the early people. I think the first night I was in there, Marcus just talked to me about whatever. What do you think this is? How do you feel about this? How are you feeling right now? As he was trying to figure out from a connection standpoint, what makes a brewery tick. And that's really awesome. Nice. So when you started off in the industry, or even prior, was there a particular brewery that sort of sold you on the industry? It could have been an experience or a particular bartender, particular beer, when you began?
Well, so I'd been home brewing in the bar and the alcohol field for a while, but I was spending the summer in New Mexico, staying with my parents, building decks and raising some money to move to North Carolina. And across the valley was this tiny little brewery, Comanche Creek Brewery, set on the family ranch, middle of nowhere. It's I think it's 7 miles from a town of 110. And I went over there for a beer. It was really cool, and you're sitting outside this historic wood log cabin, like log and daub. The tap room is a covered porch that looks out onto just nature, and the man who runs it, and it's pretty much still just him, is one of the most taciturn human beings I've ever met in my life. And it was a delightful, very rural New Mexico moment. And after going there twice, I went back and was like, "Hey, it's just you. You basically need a hand. I got some time." And that was my first job in a brewery. Was helping this guy brew, mostly cleaning things and like learning
Yeah.
the ropes. Sorry about that. And then and that was what got me started off, was like just kind of doing this thing for the fun of it, seeing if my homebrew like experiences, seeing what it was like actually doing something for sale, and then realizing like this is kind of nice. I like this. It's meditative.
Yeah.
This is a good fit.
I feel like there's a point at which everyone in this industry, even if it's for a moment, in the beer industry or in the service industry, if this is their mindset, has a moment where they're like, man, that's it, that's the dream. How did a place this small and this remote kind of function and survive?
It was the only game in several towns.
Yeah.
So basically,
And how big was that brew house?
it was a 1.5 barrel. When I was over there, he's recently upgraded to 3 barrels, and he started distributing over to Taos, which is the city nearby there, which has, I don't know, like tens of thousands of people in it. So it's big time.
Nice.
But
big fun.
he survived basically selling most of his beer to vacation homes.
Okay.
And like vacation homes and resorts. And it's, I never looked at the numbers. I never asked, but
Sure.
I don't imagine it's a big margin, but since it is the family the family ranch, there's no rent. And
Mm-hmm.
and he's doing more and more bottling, and basically he and one other brewery now are all there is until you drive the 45 miles through a mountain pass to Taos, which has 2 breweries, I think.
Okay.
And that's all you have for this entire swath of Colfax County in northern New Mexico. So there's a lot of room.
Nice. That's cool. When was the last time you were there? Oh yeah.
I go back every year, and we'll do a little bit of a beer trade. I'll bring something that I'm excited about, and he'll give me whatever he's been playing with. But it's been
Nice.
It's been almost 2 years. So
cool. Okay. Cool. I'll do a little research on that. That sounds lovely, quaint, beautiful. How about a favorite brewery tap room? Doesn't have to be your favorite, just a favorite that is in your heart that comes to mind that you're perhaps missing right now, or doesn't have to be New York City, could be anywhere.
So Burial in Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh, I love their beer. I've never been.
I first went there, I think probably about 9 months after they'd opened up. They were still pretty new, and one of the owners was behind the bar. It was this like put together. It was clearly something that these people threw together because they loved what they were doing. There's like barrels in the tap room, so you're standing next to it, and within a half an hour, I had tried multiple things that the person behind the bar was very excited about, walked away with a beer that I was very excited about, learned the basic history, made a friend, and was drinking in their backyard beer garden with like a group of folks that I'd never heard of before in my life. And like that was beautiful. So yeah, I would love to be.
Shoot, that
able
checks
to go
like
back
all
there.
the boxes. That's fabulous.
Oh, it's fantastic.
My wife is from my wife's from Greensboro, North Carolina. It's weird. I feel like a lot of people, there are certain parts of this country, pockets where everyone has a connection. Upstate New York seems to be one of them. North Carolina seems to be one of them. It's really interesting. My wife's from Greensboro, and we haven't done the Asheville trip yet. I have family down in Chapel Hill. I have a good a friend from elementary school I just connected with who's down in Chapel Hill. So that's a place to be. But man, Burial is the one I would love to check out. But that's something that I thought you were always fabulous at too. When I was back on my patronage days, if there was a new beer on, in particular something that you thought I would like to taste, it was sitting in front of me as soon as I settled up to the bar, without an explanation. Just taste this and tell me what you think. And
I appreciate your bravery sometimes with that too.
Yeah. No, but as a bartender, I adopted that, and I think that's a really fabulous personal way to get things rolling when someone comes in and sort of sort of let them know that you're paying attention to their palate and their mindset and what they drink and what they like and things. I think that's really cool. So that's the mark of a really, really cool bartender, I think, who can, because, I mean, your little pour is not going to break the bank, not for nothing. I'm a big fan of tasting and then talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Oh, I
Sirens
understand.
everywhere. That's how we operate. If anyone's watching this not from New York City, it's just sirens are what we do now.
Yeah.
That's cool. Burial is on my list. I know it's on a lot of people's lists. And I love their can art too. I think that's really, really fun.
So even at that early stage, and I've gone back over the years because I used to be out in North Carolina, and their aesthetic is coherent too, and like they have a really coherent brand that when you see a burial can, you know it's a burial can, and you know it's going to be good. And like you walk into the tap room and it all just kind of fits, which
Yeah.
I really appreciate a place that knows what they're doing and who they are. So
Yeah. So that leads me to my next question. I always like to talk about sort of a niche brewery in that same sort of vein. Do you have another one that you can think of you visited or you've heard about or you would like to visit that has a really unified vision, particularly on the tap room front?
um actually, so that I have not been to, but I really want to go to, Daleview Biscuits and Beer.
Yes, that's on my list too, and that's an easy get as soon as the restrictions are lifted and we can do it safely.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to try one of the biscuit sandwiches at Blocktoberfest last year,
Mm-hmm.
and it was delightful. And then Chris Gansey of Daleview and I have been talking, for, I guess about a year now, and I've heard so many things, and it sounds delightful. And it's got the food, it's got the beer, it's got the neighborhood, it's everything kind of blended together in it sounds like a wonderful coherent whole, and that's what I want.
Yeah,
In life.
there's not, I can't even think of any other ones aside from Chris's Space that like we talk a lot about we're creators of beer as breweries. We're artisans with regards to beer, and then Daleview has this the same exact feel for beer and for food. You don't often see someone who's like you often see we're the brewery and we've got food, we've got a kitchen. The kitchen's great or what have you, but there's not a lot of focus on it. But Chris seems like a co-creator, of beer and food, which is really, really awesome. So I think like
It
real
is.
proper brew pub or gastro pub or what have you, however you might want to call it.
He's both the head chef and the head brewer, and the
Yeah.
owner. So it is in a I agree, pretty unique way. It's his vision throughout, and I think he's got a good vision. So
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, we'll plan a trip as soon as we can. Um, so that's also on the list for you for breweries that you've not been to. So and so if these are doubling up, I apologize. We can chop and go back. But it's another tap room that you have not been to that you've always wanted to go to.
Jester King.
Jester King, yes, yeah,
Um, Jester King is probably at the top of my list. Just the idea of like a true farm brewery that's actually a farm,
mm-hmm.
is super cool and so different from anything that we can get here in New York City. And I really like their beers. I like funky mixed fermentation. I like wild beers. I'm kind of charmed by the fact that they have goats. Like the whole experience sounds like
Deli-
something that's neat and outside of my normal day to day.
yeah, same. The goats seem to be a good player on their social media as well.
Oh
That caught
yeah,
me. I followed them because I think I saw a goat picture recently. Their beer notwithstanding, which is fabulous. I've only had it in sparing quantities, but it's always really, really wonderful and eye-opening, that beer. And yeah, truly farmhouse beer. They brew. It seems based on with regards to their adjuncts, based on what's fresh, and what they're growing, and what's appropriate at that time of year, which is really, really awesome. Very, very cool space. And then a communal beer that you enjoy, or it could be a particular style or a specific beer from a specific brewery.
So, yeah, I know that you and I both share a fondness for this, but dark milds, um, and so the ability uh, to have a flavorful beer full of character that you can sit down and you can have a session with some friends on, and just kind of chill. It's not going to get you too far, but it's going to be engaging throughout. And like a delightful dark mild is one of my favorite beers. The only person I know of who makes one in New York City these days is Wild East,
Yeah.
and it's a wonderful pour. So
Temperance, yeah. Really, really great beer. Seek that out. They're doing it in crawlers right now. I wouldn't be surprised. They just started canning. I wouldn't be surprised if they started to can it soon, but who knows? But
if
that's
they
a
can,
that's a big favorite over there.
the nitro version too is like it's I it's kind of like cask, and um, got a soft spot for that too. So it all just kind of comes together real nice.
Yeah. Dark mild has hit me at different points in my beer drinking career, we'll call it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but before I really even got into beer, I lived in Philly for a hot second, and I would drink Yard's Brawler, and I didn't know what this was or why I liked it, but I liked it, and it really, really checked the boxes again. To use that idiom again, it was just low in alcohol, so it was a sessionable communal beer. I like dark beer, but they can be palate fatiguing. This one is not. And then when we started at Rockaway, I remember Flagship dropped off some of their dark milds. Maybe
Yeah,
maybe a vanilla dark mild, I forget. But I remember it being great. I think they made a vanilla version.
probably.
Great beer,
Patrick
great
picked that
great
recipe
style.
though, so
Mm,
uh, that one's only
it
available in
travels.
Maine now, I think. Um,
Really
well,
seek it out.
it's just that one guy. It's his personal baby. So
Nice. Seek out that man, tackle him, and take his dark mild. Is where we're going with all this.
definitely.
That's awesome. One of the really other cool accessible things that you did at Rockaway, we didn't talk about this much, but you had a series called Homebrew Thursdays, right? Where you would
Hmm.
bartend on Thursdays and you'd brew something on the shift, which was wild. I can like barely get my wits about me on a shift. So I can't even imagine doing that whole process. But what's really cool about your system in Williamsburg is one barrel, right?
Hmm.
So
It is.
you can take some chances. You can brew some wacky beers, and of course brew some normal styles.
Uh-huh.
But how is that sort of how is that? First of all, have you enjoyed having that freedom on the professional level?
Oh, I love it.
Stupid
It is my
question.
dream job. Uh, yeah, as you know, I like to explore. I like to try new things. I like to see if I can do something and then
Yeah.
decide if I should. Uh, and and so I think I might have mentioned to you. I have the job at Randolph in Williamsburg because of Homebrew Thursday, because one of my regulars, Kyle Kensrew, who lived down the street, would come in. He would come in and get beer from Rockaway, and he saw me doing this, and he had the idea of having this small scale experimental. Let's just see what happens. Brewery. And he's like, this guy would love this, and so that's how he eventually pulled me away from Rockaway, was being like, you can do this as your job. Um,
Yeah.
so I love it. Yeah,
But it's cool because that's the root also of conversation. That's the root of a bit of a following. That's a root of be someone tasting that beer or meeting you and talking to you and feeling like they're a part of something. Because again, it's small scale. So how many people are going to taste that one specific beer? Not as many who as the amount of people who are going to taste something on a 15 or a 30 barrel system, or not as many who are just going to taste a big beer. So it again becomes this intimate situation, but you can continue to churn out beer, and Randolph has another larger system where you can make larger batch recipes and get people interested that way as well.
mm-hmm.
Uh, Very cool. That's awesome. And then I guess one last bit. So I learned, and I don't want to go on about it, but I learned so much about not just beer from you, but just how to connect with people beyond the bar. And I was wondering if you wanted to speak to any sort of because you're the taproom manager at Rockaway, but you also did some bar management at Randolph while that Williamsburg system was being built. And so you're frontline, talking to and selling a lot of people on beer and brand and on connection and conversation. Do you have particular tenets or particular philosophies, hard and fast, that you really believe in with regards to community serving and engaging with people?
Well, so this is very basic, but I think really important is the in the beginning in hiring people, and this is something that was important at Rockaway. This is something that's important at Randolph, is hiring people who care about people. And if someone maybe doesn't know as much about beer, that's okay. We can teach them about beer. It helps if they like it and they care about it. But you
Hate
can
beer.
usually find that beer that someone likes, and then you can go from there. You can get them passionate, and like if it's a raspberry sour or a Russian Imperial Stout or a hazy IPA, like you can find that, and you can get them to light up. But you can't train someone to care about people, and I think
Yeah.
that's the most important thing is, and that's something that I come across in my favorite taproom experiences, is you have this blend of um, people who are really excited about the beer that they're at. They're excited about their job. They love what they're doing. They also care about you, and they care about your experience, and they want to share what it is that they care about with you in hopes that you'll care about it too. Um,
Hmm.
and I think that's the biggest root.
Yeah. Cool. That's great. That hits me just right today. You know, I'm excited to get back to that with some folks in the near
Same.
future. Cool. That's awesome. I don't want to take any more of your time because again, I could talk about this sort of thing with you all day long. But I truly, truly appreciate you getting on the Zoom with me today. And
Thank you for having me. Good to see you.
yeah,
It's always a pleasure,
absolutely,
and
same.
yeah,
Yeah, we'll do it again very, very soon. I'm quite sure.
I look forward
All
to
right.
it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you. All right.
Cheers.
See you later.